us today. I am Unseo Hwang, a youth delegate of the Blue Tree Foundation and a student at the Hankook Academy of Foreign Studies. It is truly my honor to moderate this side event. Before anything, I would like to send out a message of appreciation for attending our side event, where we will discuss shaping the AI future, ethical and inclusive AI governance for youth and all. As a youth experiencing the AI shift as it unfolds around us, I am sure that this event will allow further discussions for international collaboration in reaching the goal. Before we begin, allow me to introduce our co-hosts. This side event is co-hosted by the Permanent Mission of Estonia to the United Nations, the Permanent Mission of Finland to the United Nations, the International Telecommunications Union, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, and the United Nations Development Program. In addition, 4 Youth Council members from the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development are here with us to observe the session. Thank you for being with us. This event is currently being broadcast live through the UN Web TV, and a replay of this event will be available through the UN Web TV as well as the Blue Tree Foundation's YouTube channel. In front of you will be a survey paper and a leaf cutout that looks like this. Please fill in the survey paper so we can reflect them for our future events. This leaf is a part of the Blue Tree Foundation's campaign with which we plan to create a tree to protect the youth from any kind of violence. We kindly ask you to write a word or a phrase for such youth on the leaf. Just a small reminder to all of our speakers before we begin. Before you start speaking, please press the button below your mic and wait about 2 seconds as the mic also needs time to find its voice. Lastly, when you're done speaking, please turn off your mic. This side event is run on an extremely tight-knit schedule, so please keep to your allocated speech times as much as possible. With that all said, we will now begin our side event with opening remarks from our co-hosts. Firstly, please welcome the Deputy Permanent Representative of Estonia to the United Nations, Ms. Katri Lohmus.
Thank you very much. Dear moderator, friends, colleagues, Estonia is honored to be part of this event today. It is clear that AI transforms societies faster than many governments and institutions can adapt. But since the impact of this transformation reaches us all, it is important that not only all nations, but also different stakeholders have a say in these discussions, and today's event is a good example of that. Together with El Salvador, Estonia is proud to serve as a co-chair of the first global dialogue on AI governance that takes place in July this year in Geneva. And the aim of the dialogue is precisely to bring together nations and stakeholders to advance international cooperation and enable open, transparent, and inclusive discussions on AI governance on a global scale. Allow me to turn now to our national experience and share some of our experiences and practices on AI governance with a specific focus on youth. In Estonia, the cornerstone of ethical and inclusive digital governance is partnership between the government, technology community, academia, and civil society. I will bring you a few concrete examples of youth-centric AI initiatives in Estonia that showcase this principle in work. A year ago, Estonia announced an initiative called the AI Leap. This is a nationwide education program developed in partnership with the President of Estonia, the Ministry of Education and Research, and the private sector. By providing access to specific learning applications for high school students and teachers, the AI Leap essentially strengthens learning skills. To guide this transformation, our Minister of Education has established an AI Advisory Council, bringing together experts from education, research, and technology. In parallel, we are working on national guidelines for schools and recommendations for teachers on how to integrate AI meaningfully into teaching and learning. The selection of technologies has been done very carefully and are developed in cooperation with researchers and universities. To bring you another example, the Office of Estonian Commissioner for Gender Equality and Equal Treatment is working on an AI-based tool called Valdur. Valdur is a boy's name in Estonia. That tool helps to identify discrimination in job postings. This includes discrimination based on age. One of the common findings is that an unjustified requirement exists of 5-year work experience, and that essentially denies many young applicants the opportunity to apply for the job and make it harder and challenging for them to find the first job. The last example I would like to introduce is the work of Estonia's web police. This is real-life police officers that provide counseling, legal advice and support to persons who suspect or have fallen victim to harmful activity in the digital space. This includes cybercrime, harassment and bullying, and sexual abuse. The main beneficiaries of the web police's work are children and young persons. These are just a few examples that I wanted to share with you today. Distinguished audience, the AI presents both opportunities and risks, but if guided by international law and human rights, we can shape a trustworthy, ethical, and inclusive AI. I thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind words. And I welcome Mr. Kreva Tikkerpuu, Youth Representative of the Permanent Mission of Finland to the United Nations. His work focuses on social justice, social sustainability, and youth participation. Mr. Tikkerpuu, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much, moderator, dear participants, colleagues, fellow young people in the room, and friends. It is a privilege to represent Finland here today. I want to thank the Blue Tree Foundation, UNTP, ITU, UNDC, ODC, and also the Mission of Estonia for co-hosting this event. I'm also an Estonian national, on top of being a Finnish national, so it feels even more symbolic. And everyone for co-hosting this event today. It is an extremely important discussion. I'm also representing young people here today, which is what we are talking about. During my mandate as a UN Youth Delegate, I have sought to meet young people in Finland and around the world to hear diverse perspectives on the issues we're speaking on. Let me begin with a point often lost in conversations about youth representation. Young people are not a monolith. There is no single youth perspective on artificial intelligence. Like any part of the population, young people see AI's vast opportunities, including the greater accessibility and new ways of learning and working. So we do adapt, also to AI. There is undeniably a great deal of hype surrounding AI, which is itself not a problem at all. Problems do arise when AI enters our lives too early and unconsciously, or without adequate governance, as rightly emphasized in the Blue Trees Foundation statement. I think my generation, my friends and I, who grew up largely without smartphones, social media, or now AI, have lived in a certain sweet spot. We adapted to new tools, yet we remember life without them. It helps us see a familiar pattern. Social media was introduced as a fun way to connect with smartphones, and now they have grown into extensions of our hands. Today, this mechanism has been shaping how we think, connect, and direct our attention. And don't get me wrong, I love my phone and social media. Still, I think there are some uncomfortable truths to be discussed. Scrolling was sold to us as rest, social media was sold as connection, and now AI is increasingly sold to young people as support. These tools can be useful and are useful, but distraction is not rest, validation is not belonging, and efficiency is not meaning. The Blue Tree Foundation rightly focuses on safety, security, and mental health. I want to extend this discussion to something more fundamental, what it means to be and feel human. Being human is inefficient. Creativity, learning, care, friendship, and love do not optimize quite well. And yet, if you ask young people, they are precisely what make life worth living. AI aims to remove inefficiency from our lives so that we can do more, faster, and better. This is extremely valuable for repetitive and boring tasks, I agree. But we do need to be cautious about what we are possibly outsourcing in the bunch. For example, personally, I would not want to see AI replacing mental health support on a larger scale. This is why youth-centered AI governance matters. Not because young people are fragile, but because we are still becoming. Finland has repeatedly underlined that critical thinking and media literacy skills are crucial when it comes to AI implementation, and because you shouldn't take away young people's or anyone's autonomy or agency. But they are in single actions, they're not enough. Responsibility must lie with states and platforms and also developers to ensure that AI enhances human life rather than hollowing it out. I want to conclude by saying that AI can and will open many doors for humanity. It will do so even more if we also discuss the possible trade-offs and how we can prevent them. Thank you.
I appreciate your generous remarks. I now invite Ms. Ursula Wijnhoven. Ms. Wijnhoven is the IT representative to the United Nations in New York and head of UN Affairs. Whenever you're prepared, please proceed.
Thank you so much. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, youth representatives, and partners, it's such a pleasure to join you today. I too would like to thank our co-hosts, the Permanent Mission of Estonia, Permanent Mission of Finland, UNDP, UNODC, and the Blue Tree Foundation, with whom we've had a really long-standing and wonderful collaboration, for co-convening this important discussion. As the UN Specialized Agency for Digital Technologies, ITU has long worked to ensure that digital innovation serves people everywhere. As we move rapidly into a new era being shaped by artificial intelligence, that mission has never been more urgent, as we've heard. AI holds tremendous promise for accelerating progress towards sustainable development, but it also presents significant risks, particularly for young people who are often early adopters of technology, but not always empowered or protected. We see these challenges emerging in real time, including new forms of abuse and exploitation. Such risks directly affect the safety, dignity, and autonomy of young people and underscore the need for governance frameworks that are as dynamic, inclusive, and forward-looking as the technologies themselves. At ITU, we believe AI must be safe, trustworthy, inclusive, and human-centered, and designed to advance sustainable human development. This vision guides our work. Through the AI for Good multi-stakeholder platform, we bring together governments, industry, the tech community, academia, civil society, youth, and around 50 UN agencies in person and online to accelerate practical AI solutions, including for health, climate, inclusion, and sustainable development. AI for Good global convenings and activities, ranging from the annual AI for Good Global Summit to weekly webinars, the AI Skills Coalition, the Robotics for Good youth challenges and hackathons, to the AI for Good AI-powered community and content platform called the AI for Good Neural Network, demonstrate the urgency of establishing shared guardrails, but also the strong appetite for deeper cooperation, evidence-based standards, and capacity building across regions. Just last month, drawing on nearly a decade of work under the AI for Good platform, the UN University and ITU published a new report called Unlocking AI's Potential to Serve Humanity that examines how responsible deployment of AI can be used to address some of the most pressing challenges facing humanity and the planet, including climate change, humanitarian crises, food insecurity, and gaps in access to health and education. It is critical that AI works for all of humanity. We still have 2.2 billion people in the world who've never, ever even been online. They're not yet part of the digital revolution, let alone the AI revolution. And among other things, we need a whole of society upskilling effort from early schooling to lifelong learning. It's critical to upskill, to understand the risks, but also to reap the benefits. Inclusion is also fundamental to AI governance so that it includes everyone. In countries across the world, AI is already reshaping economies, jobs, and public services. At the same time, too many nations still don't have their own AI strategy. This year, the first UN Global Dialogue on AI Governance will take place in Geneva, back-to-back with the AI for Good Global Summit, with the permanent representatives of El Salvador and Estonia as its co-chairs. This is a really meaningful step towards greater coherence, inclusivity, and global representation in AI governance, all essential to ensuring that no country and no young person is left behind. Young people must not only be protected in AI-mediated environments, they should be meaningfully engaged as co-designers. Their lived experiences are indispensable to shaping policies, standards, and systems that genuinely respond to their realities and aspirations. This side event offers an opportunity to examine the evolving risks faced by youth, to share best practices in ethical and inclusive AI design, and to reflect on how we can build governance systems that are coherent, equitable, and firmly grounded in human dignity. And we are so looking forward to hearing from you all and to the continued collaboration in shaping together a future with AI that is safe, inclusive, and beneficial for youth and for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your warm introduction. Now, please welcome Ms. Xia-Hong Lee, representative of the UNODC New York office. Prior to this role, she subsequently served as section chief at the Corruption Branch and Organized Crime Branch at UNODC. Ms. Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator, for giving me the floor. Dear young participants or young friends, distinguished delegates, friends, and colleagues. So it's my pleasure to take the floor to speak on behalf of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, also referred to as UNODC. I note the broad range of background of the speakers and the panelists to this meeting, reflecting some essence of AI governance, inclusion, and multi-stakeholder approach. So I will contribute to this briefing or to this discussion based on UNODC's mandates. So at UNODC, youth empowerment, including in the area of crime prevention and criminal justice responses to challenges posed by the misuse of AI, is not addressed as a standalone issue, but as an integral component of effective crime prevention, criminal justice reform, rule of law promotion, and sustainable development, particularly in the digital sphere. UNODC's approach to youth engagement is structured around its Youth Empowerment Accelerator framework, which reflects a clear policy choice, as the previous speaker mentioned just now, that young people should be engaged not only as the beneficiaries of protection, but as active partners in prevention, resilience, and positive social change. So the framework rests on three mutually reinforcing pillars. First, education and skills development. UNODC promotes digital literacy, critical thinking, and awareness of online risks, enabling young people to navigate digital environments safely and responsibly. This includes understanding how technologies can be misused for criminal purposes and how vulnerabilities can be reduced before they are exploited. Second, safe and inclusive environments, including online space. Protection from technology-facilitated crime, such as online exploitation, abuse, and cyber-enabled trafficking, is essential to ensure that empowerment can occur without exposing young people to harm. Third, meaningful youth engagement. Youth engagement in crime prevention initiatives, policy dialogue, and community-based responses strengthens legitimacy, improves the relevance of policies, and reinforces trust in institutions. This framework is particularly relevant in the context of rapid technological development, including artificial intelligence. UNODC's position is consistent. Technology itself is a neutral tool whose benefits and harms depend on how it is used. Artificial intelligence can expand access to education, facilitate participation, and support innovation. At the same time, it is increasingly exploited for criminal purposes, including fraud, identity manipulation, online grooming, trafficking in persons, and recruitment into cyber-enabled crime. For this reason, UODC consistently promotes a balanced approach to technology. On the one hand, states have a responsibility to ensure that the digital space is safe. This requires effective legal frameworks, robust safeguards, and strong law enforcement, and also international cooperation to prevent, investigate, and respond to cybercrime. On the other hand, security measures alone are not sufficient. Protection is critical, which requires youth empowerment through education, awareness, and meaningful engagement. This balanced logic is reflected in the work towards the new UN Convention Against Cybercrime. This convention was signed or is opening for signing since 25th October last year, has already collected more than 70 signatures. It is expected to be entered into force on the 90 days after the 40th ratification. So when it into enforce, we can see that the power of this effective tool to facilitate international cooperation to combat cybercrime. So this convention seeks to strengthen international cooperation and legal certainty in addressing cybercrime while recognizing the importance of safeguards, proportionality, and prevention. Prevention in this context extends beyond technical measures. It includes capacity building, education, and awareness raising. Youth empowerment is therefore not peripheral to the cybercrime agenda, it's central to its effectiveness. In conclusion, keeping the digital space safe and empowering young people are mutually reinforcing objectives. Safe digital environments enable meaningful participation by youth, and empowered youth contribute to safer and more resilient digital ecosystems. So UODC remains committed to advancing an approach that combines protection, prevention, and empowerment, ensuring that technology serves the rule of law, inclusion, and sustainable development. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your inspiring and truly thoughtful message. Now, last but not least, I invite Ms. Yuping Chen, Head of Digital Partnerships and Engagement at the UN Development Program. She is the leadership of UNDP's Digital AI and Innovation Hub. Ms. Chen, you're welcome to begin when you're ready.
Thank you so much, and really it's so nice to be here among dear friends. At the UNDP, we believe young people are essential partners in shaping sustainable development. We recognize youth as a diverse, capable demographic whose ideas, energy, and leadership are indispensable for tackling today's global challenges, from climate change to digital transformation and AI governance. And as artificial intelligence becomes embedded in every sector, UNDP believes deeply in youth participation in designing, evaluating, and governing AI systems, exactly what we're talking about here today. This means building digital literacy, fostering youth-led innovation, and ensuring that young people, particularly those from marginalized communities and the Global South, can influence how emerging technologies are deployed. We must see young people as co-creators, and UNDP aims to support a generation capable of steering technological progress towards inclusive and ethical outcomes. I really like Sevo's point that young people are not a monolith. This really resonated, and this is why we have to be doing this everywhere around the world, recognizing local contexts and circumstances. And UNDP, with our global presence in over 170 countries and territories around the world, is deeply committed to this. For instance, throughout Africa, through UNDP initiatives like the Young Africa Innovates program that's supported by the MasterCard Foundation, Uniport Makerspaces in our regional Timbuktu Innovation Program, and targeted learning platforms like the NIMDY series, young people are gaining access to technical training, mentorship, and opportunities to build AI-enabled solutions. At the same time, UNDP recognizes that young people face real risk in an AI-driven world, including algorithmic biases, data exploitation, online harassment, and widening inequalities for those without digital access. I too love my phone, but boy, am I scared of it sometimes, and I'm even more afraid for my teenage daughter who uses her phone all the time. So I really do think that it is in this context that we need these types of partnerships, understanding, dialogue, and communication about how we address these issues. And so we are focusing on safeguarding rights and well-being as well as opportunities. In the 120 countries where UNDP supports governments leverage digital and AI to achieve the SDGs, we are guided by a rights-based and inclusive approach to digital transformation and the responsible use of AI. So this means, for instance, strengthening governance systems to ensure transparency and accountability in AI use, promoting safe digital ecosystems, and supporting youth to navigate misinformation, surveillance, and labor market disruptions. In Bangladesh, for instance, UNDP is equipping young people with practical digital skills and AI literacy through programs like a youth collab, digital platforms like Muktopath, and supporting the AI-powered National NEAS platform. There's ethics and inclusion that's embedded into our approach there. So, for instance, we promote AI solutions that address social challenges, as well as prepare youth for safe participation in the digital economy. And then finally, we firmly believe that young people have to be active creators of this digital future that we want for everyone everywhere. Our Generation 17 global initiative that's supported by Samsung connects young change makers worldwide, including AI innovators, to spotlight how youth can lead inclusive, people-centered AI solutions. And we at UNDP have loved working with the Blue Tree Foundation. We were very happy to host you earlier this week, and it's been so wonderful getting to meet all of you. It is such an honor for UNDP to be part of the conversation today. Congratulations to everyone. Really looking forward to hearing from everybody, and especially from all the young speakers gathered around. Thank you again for inviting UNDP.
Thank you again to Ms. Chen, as well as all of our co-hosts for your warm introductions. Before moving on, I'd like to kindly remind everyone to please lean closer into the mic when you speak so that the voice is nicely captured. With that, we will now move to our panel speeches, where each panel will give speeches regarding AI governance, responsible technology, policies, and youth voice. The panelists are Mr. Van Shankar, Dr. Julia Stojanovic, Commissioner Saloni Sethi, Mr. Luke Champion, and Ms. Suabe. Firstly, Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Shankar. Mr. Shankar is a distinguished expert at the intersection of emerging technology, ethics, and social impact. He leads the Council on AI Governance, a nonprofit organization dedicated to developing global standards for responsible AI. An attorney by background, Mr. Shankar graduated from Harvard Law School and was previously associated with Cravath, Swain, and Moore LLP and the Clinton Global Initiative. Mr. Shankar, please begin when you're ready.
Thanks so much for that introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate all the work that the Blue Tree Foundation does, which is crucial. We are counting on young leaders to help us address an interconnected set of global challenges. These include environmental degradation, economic headwinds, and renewed international competition and conflict. Addressing these challenges requires developing long-term strategies and staying motivated through setbacks. But constant digital stimulation is undermining our ability to stay focused and be resilient. Focus and resilience comes from learning how to deal with negative states like boredom, anxiety, and loneliness. Healthy responses that keep us grounded include exercise, art, setting long-term and positive goals, and cultivating meaningful relationships. But in our 21st century, thanks to cell phones making the internet available on demand, social media provides an easy distraction from uncomfortable emotions. Positive social feedback, like likes and shares on social media, releases dopamine in our brains and activates the same part of the brain as food and money. And dopamine is released most intensely when rewards are unpredictable, like when you don't know how many likes you're going to get. Eventually, the brain itself starts to protect itself from overstimulation by downregulating dopamine receptors and reducing its natural dopamine production. This lower baseline, which many of us live with, includes a reduced attention span and a focus on short-term rewards. In other words, it strips away our autonomy and our ability to address complex challenges. And younger people are especially vulnerable to these social media dopamine loops because the prefrontal cortex, our internal braking system, isn't fully formed until our mid-20s and in some cases our early 30s. Advances in AI have made social media even more precise and targeted. AI has also introduced additional stimulation through endless personalized content for everyone, including deepfakes, which have significant negative social and political implications. It has also introduced new risks of emotional dependence because we tend to treat it like a close conversational partner. Younger people are concerned. A May 2025 BSI study found that was conducted on people in the UK between 16 and 21 years of age found that 68% of them feel worse about themselves after using social media, and almost half of them said they would have preferred to grow up without the internet at all. Policymakers are taking action, but we need to frame the issue clearly, and we need to avoid approaches that focus too heavily on monitoring users while advancing approaches that regulate design. Advanced AI systems and AI-enabled social media are products, and their manufacturers owe us a duty of care. When an AI system is engineered to trigger dopamine spikes and simulate human empathy to maximize engagement, that is a design choice. And when that design choice results in the predictable erosion of autonomy, it is not a user error, it is a product failure. We are asking an immense amount from our young leaders, including those in the room with us here today. We can't ask them to solve the world's most complex problems while permitting the deployment of systems specifically designed to undermine their autonomy. Thanks again, everybody, for listening, and thanks for your time.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge and insight with us. It was amazing to hear your speech. Next, it is my honor to invite Commissioner Sethi to speak. Commissioner Sethi is the Commissioner for the New York Mayor's Office to End Domestic and Gender-Based Violence. Deeply informed by people's own lived experiences, she is focused on centering racial equity and ensuring that diverse groups of survivors have multiple pathways to healing both within and outside of systems. Commissioner Sethi, please proceed when you're ready.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you all for having me here. I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about our office and our work. I'm from the Mayor's Office to End Domestic and Gender-Based Violence, or NGBV for short. I have some slides so nobody has to look at me, they can look over there. So overview, briefly, our office really exists to coordinate the city's response to domestic and gender-based violence. And we do that through policy and program development, prevention work, education, training, and a lot of community outreach. We've been around for almost 25 years now, and we started focusing on the issue of domestic violence and expanded in 2018 to include all forms of gender-based violence, really in the recognition that most of the people we serve have experienced multiple forms of violence. And so, of course, thank you. Thank you. So of course, here we're talking about technology and AI, and where our work really intersects with that is around the topic of technology-facilitated abuse. And so we define technology-facilitated abuse as the use of technology, the internet and online platforms like social media to bully, harass, stalk, intimidate, or control someone. And of course, this type of abuse has lots of intersections with gender-based violence and often uses the same tactics of sexual, verbal, and emotional abuse. So when we see things like dating partners or intimate partners using technology to stalk each other or monitor each other's whereabouts, or we see things like people being coerced into sharing nudes or intimate images that are then distributed, or as we've seen recently, the rise of online platforms, social media and gaming platforms to facilitate trafficking, right, through false offers of labor or romance that have led to labor and trafficking situations both online and offline. And of course, while everybody is sort of impacted by this, we do know that young people are particularly vulnerable and particularly impacted. So a recent survey of New York City public school students revealed that 42% reported having experienced some kind of online bullying. And so that's quite high. And so we know that the focus has to be on young people. And of course, with the growth in AI, it's coincided with increased capacity for this sort of abuse. So what do we do? At NGBV, our work really focuses on three categories, right? One is ongoing education and awareness. And when we talk about education and awareness, we work directly with young people and the adults in their lives, including teachers, parents, whoever, to make them aware of what technology-facilitated abuse looks like, give them tools to keep themselves safe online, and to understand what is harmful or maybe manipulative behavior. We also work a lot with professionals that provide services to those impacted by gendered violence to get them to understand that. We do a lot of legislative and policy advocacy, both legislation at the city and state level, and also working with our corporate partners to help them provide advice and best practices on how to give survivors agency and tools to stay safe online. And we build partnerships and collaboration. So some real key partnerships I want to highlight is, we partner with young people directly. We have a youth leadership council that works with our office to provide youth voice into everything we do. We partner with youth-serving orgs in the city, and one in particular, Day One, which focuses on dating violence and domestic abuse for people 24 and under, and they've sort of helped us develop a lot of our training in this area. We have a strong, long-standing partnership with Cornell's Clinic to End Tech Abuse that really focuses on research and advocacy and developing tools to help, again, people stay safe online, and then sort of also scan and look at their devices if there is anything on there, and provide lots of free services to our survivors. And so what have we learned as we've done this it's been almost a decade since we've been sort of in this space doing this work, right? And so I thought I'd share some of the principles, some of which I think folks have echoed as we think about technology-facilitated abuse. I think the first thing to recognize is that technology is a tool, right? So it's a tool, and really when we're talking about abuse and gender-based violence, the underlying problem is not the technology, it is the social structures and social norms that are rooted in misogyny that allow this kind of harmful behavior to exist. So any effort to end technology-facilitated abuse also has to include education on healthy relationships and boundaries and consent and healthy conflict negotiation. And we do a lot of that work with young people directly. And so since technology is a tool, it can also be used for good as well as bad, right? And so while right now we see a lot of the rise of technology being used for harmful behavior, we do believe that there are ways to use technology to help keep people safe online. The second thing I think that we always want to center and acknowledge is that, the realities of sort of technology in our lives, right? It's here and it's here to stay. And for young people, increasingly, there is not really a boundary between life online and offline, right? And I have a 12-year-old, and I argue with him about this all the time, right? So it really becomes the same thing. So how do we sort of really acknowledge that and not be technophobic and not say like, okay, we can't do this, don't do this, but really start thinking about skill building and more knowledge, empowering folks to really be educated consumers of technology. And that really goes to our focus on sort of harm reduction and skill development approaches. The other thing that I think people forget sometimes, right, is that like while technology is new or newish, the work to end gender-based violence and abuse is not. And we have frameworks and especially regulatory frameworks and approaches that exist that can be adapted to new environments, right? So in New York City, one of the things I think about is for a long time, you've been able to go into family court and get an order of protection against somebody who's abusing you. Recently, we added online harassment and abuse as a cause or a reason for getting an order of protection, right? So that remedy existed and we adapted it for online abuse. Similarly, the state just passed legislation to make sharing, AI-generated images of childhood sexual abuse or childhood nudes illegal, right? That existed, just adapting it to a new environment. So I think that's really important. And I think when it comes to sort of, looking at the companies themselves, like really the focus has to be on transparency and accountability for companies so that the consumers can really understand what's being done, what's being used, and then develop agency on how they engage with the product. So I thought I'd close out by just sharing some of our policy and program wins, some of which I've mentioned. One of the things, the partnership with Day One, which I mentioned, we've also started talking about tech abuse in schools sort of throughout the New York City public school system, which is great. We have a program that works in middle schools and high schools called the Relationship Abuse Prevention Program, which talks about tech abuse and AI and all of that. And the DOE has a program called Respect for All that is a K-12 program that has also included online bullying and harassment as part of what they talk about, and they've actually created a separate portal for parents and adults to report this type of abuse. Of course, we've expanded services to prevent TFA through our partnership with the Cornell CETA, the Cornell Clinic to End Tech Abuse. And again, we provide free services to survivors across the city who might be impacted, as well as like training and education. And then in 2019, we did have laws to prohibit the non-consensual sharing of intimate images. That was new, and those are at the city and state level, and they provide, not only they criminalize the behavior, but they also provide remedies to survivors, including being able to get a court order from a judge that would allow, make websites have to take these images down. So that's, kind of what we're up to here in New York City, and thank you all for your time, and I hope this was helpful.
Thank you once again to Commissioner Sethi, and it has been an inspiration to hear your speech. Next, I invite Dr. Stojanovic. Dr. Stojanovic is the Institute Associate Professor of Computer Science and Engineering, Associate Professor of Data Science, and Director of the Center of Responsible AI at New York University. Her mission is to create responsible AI synonymous with AI. In addition to her academic publications, she has written for the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Le Monde. Dr. Stojanovic, we invite you to begin when you're ready.
Very much for the invitation and for the opportunity to be here. Today I will speak about the joys of doing, learning, and being. And I would like to start with an excerpt from an animated short called Happy Birthday. It's a story about care and intention. A boy wants to make something joyful for his mom, but when he lets AI take over, things get to be hilariously wrong. And it's modeled loosely after my 12-year-old son. So let's show the animated short. So you can watch the rest of the cartoon on YouTube. But what I would like to say is that what I showed you here is a parable for where we are in the world today, especially for young people who grow up with AI in their pockets, classrooms, and futures. We've built powerful systems that can do so much of the work: write, recommend, persuade. But the joy, the curiosity, the why, these still belong to us. To start, let me speak about the joy of doing. Doing meaningful work, whether learning, organizing, caring for others, or shaping collective decisions, is not just about producing outcomes or optimizing for efficiency, as we heard earlier. It's a human practice of wondering, experimenting, arguing, and taking responsibility. It's how we learn what we know and who we are, by acting, making choices, failing, and trying again. If AI takes over too much of that doing, our actions become invisible and accountability begins to dissolve. We risk turning human activity into mere output, a kind of a birthday cake that bakes itself, impressive but flavorless. We must preserve the space where thinking and doing meet, because that's where joy lives. Aristotle wrote that pleasure perfects activity. Joy is not apart from effort, it crowns it. The pleasure of doing comes from acting with awareness and responsibility, from struggle, discovery, and creation. Next, let me speak about the joy of learning. Learning is hard work. And here too, joy is not the opposite of effort. It's what makes effort worthwhile. As Hassoun Bai reminds us, education is about cultivating human agency, the ability to act freely and responsibly in the world. That is what makes learning joyful. But pain matters too. If there's no friction, there's no growth. No pain, no gain. We still teach kids to do fractions not because machines can't, but because doing fractions is how they learn to think quantitatively. Automate too early and we rob learners of the pleasure of mastery, of reaching the next level by effort. Aristotle might call this flourishing through activity. John Dewey might call it learning by doing. Either way, joy emerges from agency meeting challenge. Finally, there is a deeper joy, the joy of being human in the first place. Epicurus called pleasure the absence of disturbance, a harmony between our actions and our understanding of the world. For us, that harmony may come when we use AI wisely, as collaborator, not replacement. When we preserve our capacity to wonder, choose, care, and create. The joy of existence comes from being able to recognize ourselves in the consequences of our actions, from knowing that what happens in the world is not mysterious or imposed, but something we can understand, influence, and answer for. To be human is to reach for meaning, connection, and a future we can stand behind. Our task is to build a world where AI supports that reaching without dulling its edge and without severing the link between action and responsibility. In closing, in Happy Birthday, the boy doesn't give up. He learns to work with AI, not hand everything over. That's the vision for a future we can stand behind. Keep the joy of doing, learning, and being alive, so that our machines extend our reach, but never replace our wonder. Thank you.
Thank you, and your message was truly impactful. Everyone, please now welcome to the floor Mr. Luke Champion. Mr. Champion recently joined Microsoft's Global Affairs team on secondments from UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. He previously served as the UK's lead on cyber, digital and technology policy at the UK mission in New York, where he negotiated UN's new panel and dialogue on AI and the global mechanism on ICT security. Mr. Champion, whenever you're ready, please start.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I was informed yesterday, in fact, that one part of the UN at least defines youth as being under the age of 35. So allow me to also say it's a pleasure to be surrounded by so many colleagues. I'm going to run through a few different things here, talk about current initiatives on governance and how Microsoft's involved. I'm going to talk a little bit about how education and AI literacy is a pillar of safety, and also give an example of how one of these harms is being addressed by us, but also the importance of it, and then try to wrap up from there as well. So allow me to start by saying no government, company, or organization can single-handedly tackle the opportunities and risks that AI represents. Successful AI governance relies on cooperation between diverse stakeholders, international learning, and a shared dedication to practical solutions. Now, global discussions about AI need to progress beyond theoretical policy debates and focus on putting ideas into practice by leveraging the insights of governments, business, civil society, educators, and researchers, many of whom are gathered here today. And it's increasingly important, as we've already heard, to include young people in these conversations, as they are deeply affected by the rapid changes AI brings society. And I'm warmed to be here, in fact, as someone who did negotiate the AI panel and dialogue, to say that you're in one of the rooms where these things were negotiated, in fact. I recall sitting over at the back there. So I see this happening, and that really warms my heart to see. I'll talk a little bit now about education AI literacy. At Microsoft, a crucial aspect of responsibility is deploying AI and providing education and promoting AI literacy among children and youth. Building literacy helps users identify risks,
question outputs, protect their privacy, and act responsibly with technology, which we heard is so important. Responding to growing needs, Microsoft has created and distributed various resources aimed at AI safety for kids. One such tool, the AI Classroom Toolkit, is a free resource helping teachers and students understand generative AI from a perspective of prioritizing safety and responsibility. It covers topics like AI hallucinations, bias, data privacy, mental health, ethical use, and fostering resilience and better decision-making among young users. Through tailored campaigns, the toolkit has reached classrooms in 10 countries and partnerships with governments, NGOs, and education systems. I'll now talk specifically about a harm that's already come up today and how we're trying to tackle that at Microsoft, and in fact some work that we've done with the Blue Tree Foundation itself. Collaborative learning is vital in tackling new challenges, including the rise of AI-driven image abuse and nudification tools that especially impact women and girls. In 2024, Microsoft helped develop the AI misuse and nudification educational resource to address the growing threat of AI-generated sexual imagery. This initiative shows how education can be both a preventative measure and also an early intervention strategy, not just a reactive solution. In South Korea, Microsoft teamed up with the Blue Tree Foundation and the Korean National Information Authority to run a student workshop focused on exactly this issue. That workshop equipped students with skills to recognize AI-facilitated image abuse, understand the nudification is a serious and punishable offense, overcome stigma related to reporting, shift from passive observers to active supporters of victims, and navigate safe, trusted reporting channels. So I'll wrap up by saying that these case studies highlight an essential lesson for global AI governance, policy, safety, features, and education. All of them must advance together. Working with young people firsthand has been particularly rewarding for Microsoft in this regard. Regulation without education can leave people unprepared, while education alone lacks sufficient safeguards. Microsoft is dedicated to this principle, offering useful tools, sharing knowledge across borders, and continually strengthening responsible AI practices through collaboration. By investing in education with a special focus on youth, we can move closer to a more unified, inclusive, and effective framework for managing AI globally. I thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge and insight with us. Lastly, everyone, please give a warm welcome to Ms. Sua Bei. Ms. Bei is a sophomore at Korea International School and is here today representing the Blue Tree Foundation. The foundation's mission is to build a happy and peaceful world where young people can freely dream, pursued through counseling, education, and social change. Ms. Bei, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, everyone, and the moderator. On behalf of the Blue Tree Foundation, I am here today not to speak in theory, but from lived experience as a youth growing up in an unregulated digital space. My feed kept showing disturbing content. It just appeared, and I was expected to handle it all on my own. That experience reflects a broader failure of protection, and it demands a collective response. We call on governments, international organizations, digital platforms, educators, and the civil society to take concrete actions against cyber violence through stronger laws, platform accountability, and prevention-based education. Cyber violence has evolved from text-based harassment to AI-generated deepfake images and videos. As AI tools have become widely accessible, the scale of harm has surged. UNICEF research across 12 countries found that in 2025, nearly 1 in 5 children experienced online sexual exploitation or abuse, and the majority of those cases are non-consensual in nature. Behind that number are my friends who log on one day to find their bodies and identities turned into content without consent. This crisis is especially concerning because platform systems enabled the rapid spread of harm with limited accountability. Algorithms designed to maximize engagement often amplify explicit or provocative content instead of restricting it. Last month, a user exploited an AI chatbot to generate and distribute sexualized images of women and minors. Despite repeated reports, the content remained online long enough to be downloaded, reshared, and algorithmically promoted. Even after the partial removal, victims were left with permanent digital traces. This case underscores that accountability must extend beyond individual users to the systems and the regulatory gaps that allow harm to persist. This pattern is not isolated, and it reflects a global failure of digital governance, which is precisely why we must now turn to systemic solutions like the ones Commissioner Sethi has already talked about. First, in alignment with the SDG 16, we urge member states to explicitly recognize AI-generated sexual abuse and deepfake harassment as digital violence within youth protection and gender-based violence frameworks. These frameworks need to be supported by clear legal definitions and cross-border enforcement mechanisms. Without legal clarity, schools and justice systems inconsistently respond, allowing perpetrators to abuse jurisdictional gaps. Second, in line with SDG 10, we call for mandatory platform accountability standards that prioritize youth safety, including algorithmic transparency, rapid takedown requirements, and penalties when harmful content involving minors remain online. In South Korea, students whose images remained online for days reported prolonged harassment, school avoidance, and lasting reputational damage even after the removal. This demonstrates that delayed takedowns enable irreversible harm that could have been prevented. Third, in support of SDG 17, we urge the United Nations and international bodies to facilitate coordinated guidelines on youth digital safety that integrate AI, governance platform, and regulations and education into a single framework. Fragmented responses are inadequate for harms operating across borders, platforms, and jurisdictions. Lastly, advancing SDG 4, we emphasize sustained investment in prevention-based education that places young people at the center of digital safety efforts. Youth are not only the primary targets of online harm, but often the first to recognize emerging risks like the peer dynamics that adults often overlook. Through BTF's Cyber Jungle Guardian Blue Elephant, prevention education against cyberbullying has reached over 1.3 million youth. Independent evaluation also shows a 34.3% increase in bystander intervention and a 14% decrease in perpetration, demonstrating that education reduces harm before it occurs. We therefore urge the education system to partner with governments, international organizations, and NGOs to prioritize prevention education as a core youth safety strategy. As young people growing up in the age of AI, we as members of civil society are not waiting for this harm when we are living inside it. Many youth are already suffering, yet we refuse to be passive victims. Young people should not have to survive preventable harm. We must be empowered to prevent it. If you're serious about achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in the digital age, our safety and agency must be treated as a shared global responsibility. Once again, thank you, and it was my honor to speak along amazing panels and our co-host.
Thank you, Ms. Bay, for your encouraging and honest words. As a youth, each and every one of the panel speeches have been inspiring, and it has been our honor to listen to them. It is now time to move on to our open discussions. We will first hear from Ms. In-san He of the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Korea to the United Nations, followed by short opinions from the youth delegates of the Blue Tree Foundation. Our last speaker will be Ms. Yeva Yevtikova, delegate of the Major Group of Children and Youth. With that, please welcome Ms. In-san He, Counselor of the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Korea to the United Nations.
Thank you all. Good morning. I am so pleased to participate in this meaningful event today. As a leading country in AI technology, the Republic of Korea hosted the International AI Standards Summit in December last year in Seoul, together with ISO, IEC, and ITU. The summit's main focus was to bridge a regulatory framework for businesses and to enable a robust, globally coherent approach to AI design and governance. But it is also noteworthy that the Seoul Joint Statement reaffirmed a global commitment of the public and private sectors to advance the well-being of humanity through AI standards. What we were able to appreciate during today's panel discussion was also the complexity surrounding the AI. how AI should be governed, what this technology truly means, what impact it will have on the world as a whole, and what opportunities and risks it may present for our growing youth. Recognizing these multiple layered dimensions in responding to the issues of AI can be considered as a key outcome of today's discussion. The UN is often criticized for being too large and slow to respond to emerging challenges, but I believe that the UN is uniquely positioned to provide a forum where people from all over the world, across countries and generations, can come together to exchange views on new and evolving issues such as AI. I believe that today's discussion proudly provides entry points for more inclusive and coordinated global dialogue for our young generation. Furthermore, it is both natural and deeply inspiring that young people who will grow up alongside AI and live in a world where AI is embedded are raising these questions and seeking solutions themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your insightful opinion. We will now hear from the youth panel. The 4 youth panels have come today to represent the Blue Tree Foundation and share their insights on youth and digital safety. I pass the mic to our discussants, Yoonha Seo, Jae Choi, Ayoung Kwak, and Do-hyun Lee.
Everyone, my name is Yoonha Seo, and I am a UN Youth Delegate from the Blue Tree Foundation. It has been a privilege to listen to all these thoughtful and insightful discussions on youth-centered AI governance. I would like to share an experience that has shaped my perspective on this issue. Only a few months ago, there was a rumor at my school that a group of first-year students had photographed female classmates' ID photos and displayed it on campus using AI deepfake technology to create inappropriate videos. Fortunately, the rumor turned out to be false information. Yet, despite the fact that this issue was spread widely across the school, the ID photos remain publicly displayed in the hallways, and to this day, no preventative measures have been introduced. After confronting the possibility that my own photo could be used in such crimes, I was deeply shocked. This made me realize that AI governance must be implemented urgently in practical, concrete ways. For this reason, I found Mr. Shankar's remarks particularly resonant. As he noted, young people are already being shaped by AI systems designed to capture attention through dopamine-driven, highly targeted digital environments. When combined with the growing risks of AI misuse, such as deepfakes, this reality shows that AI governance cannot remain theoretical. Therefore, I want to emphasize that protecting young people in the age of AI is not a future concern, but a current issue, and that it is a shared responsibility. Let us work together to ensure that AI develops in a way that respects rights, safeguards privacy, and upholds the dignity of next generation. Thank you.
I want to give the absolute acknowledgement to the speeches you gave. Listening to your words, I could see the different perspectives everyone has towards AI technology. Some may argue that digital advancement is a positive innovation to society, but some of us can recognize the risks technology has given us. For this reason, I was impressed by the approaches New York City took towards digital technology. The realistic examples like training and ideas in realizing technology as a tool that Commissioner Sethi has given us show a clear guideline to how governments or private sectors should apply these acts in their communities, resulting to real implementations in the 2025 DOA Summit. Violence using digital technology is a worldwide issue. Features such as deepfakes, voice phishing, fake news, and cyberbullying are now all over the world, making everyone, especially youth, vulnerable in the field. Honestly, as a youth in our society, I am scared of the transformation. It is not because of the innovations driven by digital technology, but people's approaches using the mechanism. I believe that digital technology is a double-edged sword. Using the technology may be simple, but the consequences that follow are not. Still, many youth suffer because of discrimination and digital breaches. While we are hosting this side event about violence in the world, some are doubting their human dignity. While we are laughing at a social media post, someone may be suffering because of that. And while we praise the technology because of its ease and practicalness, on the other side of the world, someone may be in pain because of our digital awareness. To reach the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals, youth who will establish the world in 2030 will be the key. No youth should be left behind and no youth should give up on themselves. Do not let us down because of our future society. We dream of a world that is safe, inclusive, and ethically just. So please, let the dreams come true. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Ayong Guak, a youth delegate of the Bluetooth Foundation. As a university student who has experienced AI as a double-edged sword, today's dialogue was truly meaningful for me. I deeply resonate with UN youth-inclusive AI governance, especially regarding safety and global cooperation. And it was insightful to hear Mr. Champion's remarks on collaborative learning and partnership for common goals. I'd like to add 2 points for further consideration from the youth perspective. First, we need to focus on AI's potential to hinder youth academic growth. I have seen widespread student AI plagiarism, as well as tension due to the lack of clear and comprehensive guidelines. Also, false positives in plagiarism detection might also dampen the motivation and creativity of innocent students. Second, safeguarding the youth's social emotional development is crucial in the AI era. Recently, teens' aggressive behaviors toward obedient AI is an alarming trend in a blind spot. Without fostering AI literacy and emotional maturity, youth with harmful attitudes toward AI might become desensitized to mistreating real people. Sustaining today's youth-inclusive momentum is the key to navigating these complexities. As youth, we are eager to enrich the AI governance with our lived experiences. In addition, building upon the idea of multilateral collaboration, I'd like to propose a global task force to adapt and renew AI governance. With a quarterly update cycle based on each stakeholder's feedback, this task force can keep pace with AI's development, promptly minimizing its harmful effects. AI should empower everyone to reach their potential rather than cause harm. And I'm honored to share my thoughts as part of this meaningful journey to our safe and inclusive AI future. Thank you.
My name is Do-hyun Lee, a UN Youth Delegate of the Bluetooth Foundation. I really enjoyed your speech, Dr. Stoyanovich. Artificial intelligence is developing at an unprecedented speed, but the ability to manage AI has not kept pace. As a result, we are seeing a growing number of cases where AI causes real harm. I have even heard of deepfake violence affecting people around me. As a consequence, recognizing the seriousness of these issues, I strongly agree with Dr. Stoyanovich on the need for responsible AI. If companies focus only on profit when introducing AI systems, they are likely to become unethical. Just a month ago, according to the article in The Guardian, one company's AI generated over 3 million sexual images in less than 2 weeks, including 23,000 children images. The European Commission criticized that they misled users and evaded responsibility. At the same time, AI-generated images and videos are becoming almost indistinguishable from reality. This makes it difficult to tell the truth from falsehood, especially for teenagers with limited digital literacy, and leads to the spread of misinformation without accountability. Everyone, AI issues are no longer a matter of the future. All of them avoid responsibility for its impact on society. If AI keeps advancing in this way, can we truly say that our future is safe? Even now, the internet feels like a lawless space where dangerous truths run rampant, often being directed at young people. Therefore, as a UN Youth Delegate of the Bluetooth Foundation, I strongly urge all of you to reflect on responsible AI. By focusing on the common good and taking responsibility for its impact, we can build a safer and more ethical future with AI. Thank you.
Thank you for your lived and honest experiences and truthful comments. And I welcome Ms. Yevtakova from MGCY to the floor.
It's an honor to speak today. My name is Yeva Yevtakova, and I'm speaking on behalf of a major group for children and youth and the Youth Science Policy Interface. As we reflect on the theme of shaping the future of AI, I speak from a perspective grounded in my experience working at the intersection of AI and education. While AI is a promising tool in narrowing gaps in access to learning through its interactive nature, its harm for youth development remain largely unregulated. The future of the workforce is being debated in the boardrooms of tech companies with no agency for governments or citizens. My work and research have shown that AI can fuel emotional dependence, increase vulnerability to misinformation, and spread bias through unrepresentative training data. With realism previously unattainable, this false content can reinforce racially and ethnically discriminatory views and contribute to bullying in school environments and polarize people in democratic governance mechanisms. If we want AI to empower youth, we must begin by establishing and requiring advisory boards for AI companies and policies with meaningful seats for youth alongside senior personnel. At present, there is no youth representation on the SGAI panel, nor is there a formal mechanism for young people to engage in global AI governance dialogues, even though children and youth are digital natives and among the most affected users of these systems. What can we in this room do to ensure youth input is built into AI governance mechanisms with a real influence over design choices, policy, safeguards, and accountability? Thank you.
I appreciate your valuable perspective. Once again, thank you to Ms. Ha, our youth delegates, and Ms. Yevdokova. The final order of our event today are the panel commentary, where our panels will reflect and say their last remarks. As much as we would love to hear from all of our panelists, due to time constraints, we will hear from just a couple, and please ensure to keep them no longer than 60 seconds. Are there any panelists wishing to speak? Mr. Champion, please do.
As an advance, I'm still putting together, as you can see from my piece of paper, I've been scribbling things to try and put something coherent together, but I'm struck, I've viewed governance and AI governance from two perspectives now. I've both negotiated for the UK and now I'm presently at Microsoft representing some of their views as well. And I can say that this subject is enormously complicated, as I've come to learn it. I joined the UN a year ago, and there's so many considerations at every single level. I know so little about domestic policy considerations and how you take domestic concerns and risks and turn them into policy itself. I know a bit more about doing that at the UN, and I can say that in each of those forums they face their different challenges, and I think it's really important that youth represents on those different ones. And today we heard the idea that there could be a youth representative on the AI panel. I think that's an excellent idea. But I will also say that we, as the UK, were able to get Sonia Livingston on the panel, who's specifically focused at AI and children and their representation as it relates to governance and their safety as well. So these things are happening. There are these channels, but I would encourage everyone today, as you go forward as a group of youths into adulthood, to carry on with those beliefs and keep thinking about every single level where you do get to represent, because it is important both on the domestic, international level, and try to be aware of the different things that are slowing progress down. And I'll say from the bit I know as well, in the United Nations, it is an extremely complex subject, and I think progress is unfortunately going to be somewhat slow, but that shouldn't discourage you. Know that a huge volume of effort goes into trying to move those discussions forward, and that you are trying to get 193 member states all to agree to the same thing. So thank you for the opportunity to reflect, and it was very inspiring to hear what you had to say.
Thank you once again to all of our panelists. I'm really sorry, but we are running really short on time, so I'm just trying to be as quick as possible. Today, the Blue Tree Foundation, along with our fellow delegates, representatives, and everyone here today, held a discussion about AI governance that is ethical and inclusive for all. Just before we end our side event, I would like to add a small statement. Through today's discussions, I realized that youth aren't just beings needing protection, but they are actually beings capable of leading change. As the future becomes more unpredictable, we must adhere to real-world and first-hand experiences and not abstract and textbook knowledge. We will observe the discussions shared by those gathered here and ensure that the key points are effectively reflected in policymaking. Furthermore, now we will make a joint declaration of our commitment to multilateral international cooperation. At the end of the declaration, I ask everyone to give a round of applause for the future of youth and all in the coming ages of digital development. We declare our commitment to pursuing cooperation with all stakeholders, including international organizations, NGOs, and the private sector, to promote the ethical, inclusive, and responsible governance of artificial intelligence. The The final act of our today's side event will be the Blue Promise campaign to strengthen our determination with one heart and one mind. So we put your hands together like this and face the camera at the back. It's like this, so you just put your pinkies together. Yeah, so you interlock your pinkies. Yeah, that's right, that's right. Like this. Yeah. Everyone, please face the camera right here. And that sums up our side event for today. Thank you for everyone, and please be safe for the remainder of your trip. We hope to see you again next year. Thank you. Thank you so much.